Okay, so imagine this. You're about to hire a new executive assistant.
Oh, the gatekeeper.
Yeah, the gatekeeper to your success,
Right.
but how do you make sure you're getting a rock star
Mhm.
and not just,
Someone who can, answer the phone.
exactly. So that's what we're diving into today, right?
That's right. Yeah.
We are going to dissect this guide from Workable.
Hmm.
They're the hiring pros.
They are.
And we're going to uncover the most insightful questions that you can ask when you're interviewing a potential EA.
Yes. And it's not just about finding any EA, right? Like
Right.
we want to figure out the questions that are really going to reveal whether this person can be your right hand.
Yes.
Anticipate your needs
Yes.
and really help you get to that next level.
I love that. I love that. It's like we're giving our listeners a secret decoder ring for
Exactly.
these interviews. Now, I think most people have a general idea of what an EA does.
Right. Yeah.
Like scheduling, travel arrangements, maybe some light paperwork.
Filing. Yeah.
But this Workable guide really emphasizes that it's so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What do you think?
It's fascinating how they highlight the evolution of the role.
Yeah.
It's not just administrative tasks anymore. A
Right.
really great EA is like this master of organization and discretion and diplomacy, all these things rolled into one.
Right. So they're dealing with
They're handling
sensitive information.
Yeah, totally.
They're managing these really complex calendars.
Right.
And then they're often acting as this liaison
Yes.
between you
The
and
whole network of people.
Yeah, whole network of people. That's a lot. Okay, so let's actually get into some of these questions
Let's do it.
that Workable suggests. Because one that really jumped out at me was, how do you prioritize tasks when everything seems urgent?
Ooh. Yeah.
I can only imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like as an EA, things are always on fire.
Everything's an emergency.
Everything's an emergency.
Yeah.
So why is that question so important?
Well, this question is really smart.
Yeah.
Because it goes directly to the heart of how a candidate thinks under pressure, right?
Yeah, okay.
Like you're not just looking for somebody who can make a to-do list. You're looking for someone who can really analyze, strategize, make judgment calls on the fly.
Right.
Think about it. You need an EA who understands your priorities
Yes.
and can figure out what absolutely has to happen now versus what can maybe wait a little bit.
So it's almost like they need to be able to read your mind a little bit
Kind of, yeah.
when it comes to what you consider most important.
Yeah, now obviously clear communication is key, right?
Right.
But, the best EAs can often anticipate needs before they're even voiced.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so look for candidates who talk about strategies for kind of proactively figuring out those unspoken priorities,
Okay.
whether it's through, observing your work patterns or having regular check-ins,
Right.
just to make sure they're on the right track.
That's such a good point. It's like they always have to be
One step ahead.
one step ahead. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, another question that intrigued me from the guide
Okay.
was, describe a time you had to handle a confidential matter. How did you ensure discretion? I mean, confidentiality is obviously a huge part of this role.
Huge. Yeah.
So what are we really trying to suss out here?
Yeah, this question is all about understanding their grasp of what confidentiality means in a professional setting.
Right.
Like a vague answer, like, oh, I'm very trustworthy.
Yeah.
It's not enough. You want to hear concrete examples
Oh, okay.
of how they've handled sensitive information in the past. Like, did they use secure communication channels? Were they careful about who they talked to about work stuff? Did they go above and beyond to protect privacy?
Right, right. So it's less about just saying the right things
Totally.
and more about proving that they've actually walked the walk
Exactly.
when it comes to discretion.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we can't forget about, like, that classic EA challenge,
Oh, the scheduling.
the dreaded scheduling conflict.
Yes, the calendar tetra.
Yes. So Workable recommends asking, how do you manage an executive schedule when there are conflicting appointments?
It's a good one.
It seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But what are we really assessing here?
Well, it goes way beyond just knowing how to use a calendar app, right?
Why?
It's about problem solving. It's about communication,
Right.
understanding the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
A great EA is going to be able to weigh the importance of each meeting, consider your overall goals, and maybe even offer some creative solutions.
So let's say, I have 2 meetings booked at the same time.
Oh, the worst.
The worst. What would be a really savvy answer that shows they can handle that?
Well, imagine a candidate who says something like, okay, first, I would assess the importance of each meeting and consider if one could be rescheduled or maybe even delegated. If not, I give you a quick overview of each meeting's purpose, the key attendees, so you can make a really informed decision. And then I'd also proactively explore options like video conferencing or maybe adjusting the meeting lengths just to minimize disruption to your day.
Wow, that's impressive.
Right.
It really shows that they're
They're thinking ahead.
not just reacting, they're strategizing.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
say.
Now, in today's world, right, like we can't ignore
The tech
or
skills.
tech skills.
All technology.
So Workable suggests asking, what software tools do you use to assist in your daily tasks? And how proficient are you with them? I have a feeling like just saying I'm good with email,
Yeah, I'm not going to cut it.
that's not going to cut it these days.
No.
So what are we really hoping to hear?
So today's EAs really need to be tech savvy, adaptable,
Yeah.
So this question helps you kind of assess their familiarity with the tools that are essential to your work style and your company's systems. So are they comfortable with calendar management software, project management tools, virtual meeting platforms, maybe even some light design or presentation software? It really depends, right,
Yeah.
on what you need. But the key is making sure they can speak the language,
Oh.
the digital language of your business.
So it's not just about knowing how to use a computer.
No.
It's about knowing how to really use the tools to be effective.
Efficient and effective.
Efficient and effective, yes. Okay, before we move on, I have to ask about this last question from this section.
Okay.
This one really made me think, okay,
All right.
how do you handle a situation where an executive is unprepared for a meeting?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I mean, it sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It can be, but that's why this question is so revealing, right?
Okay.
It shows their ability to think on their feet, to anticipate potential pitfalls,
Yeah.
and save the day.
Okay.
A great EA is going to have systems in place to kind of help you stay prepared.
Right.
Like pre-meeting briefings, agenda reminders,
Yeah.
maybe even proactively gathering relevant materials.
Right.
But even with the best preparation, things can still go wrong.
Of course.
Right. You want somebody who can stay calm under pressure, quickly gather information,
Yes.
and give you those key points that you need, even if it's like on a moment's notice.
It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket.
Totally.
Okay, so we've talked about some really great questions,
Yes.
but I'm dying to know what a really impressive answer sounds like.
Yes.
Are there any, like, shining examples from the Workable Guide that would, like, make you sit up and take notice?
There are some really good sample answers that they provide that illustrate what a standout candidate might say.
Okay.
But remember, they're just starting points, right?
Right.
The real insight comes from understanding what those answers are really telling you about the candidate.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. It's easy to get caught up in the logistics of it all, right?
Right.
The scheduling wizardry, mastering all the tech tools.
Mhm.
But this Workable Guide, it kind of subtly points to something even more important.
Okay.
Soft skills,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Those can be real game changers.
I see what you mean. So we're talking about navigating office politics?
Yeah,
Smoothing things over when people are upset?
right. Being the diplomat.
Basically, yeah. But how do you even assess those kinds of skills in an interview?
It's tough, right?
Yeah, it's not like you can, like, stage a boardroom showdown.
Exactly, yeah.
See how they'll react.
No, you can't. So it's about asking behavioral questions
Okay.
that reveal how they've handled similar situations in the past.
Okay, so real-world examples.
Exactly, yeah. Instead of like hypothetical scenarios.
Right.
You want to hear about their actual experiences.
So, for example,
You could ask something like, tell me about a time you had to deal with a demanding or unreasonable request from someone. How did you approach that situation?
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So instead of them just saying, oh, I'm great with difficult people,
right.
you want them to tell you a story.
Exactly. Show, don't tell, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But what would, like, a really amazing answer to that question even sound like?
Look for answers that show a balance of assertiveness and empathy.
Oh, okay.
So did they set boundaries but still remain respectful?
Okay.
Did they try to see like the underlying reason for the request,
Right.
even if it seemed totally unreasonable?
Yeah.
And did they offer alternative solutions?
Okay.
These are all signs of a candidate who can like gracefully navigate those tricky situations.
It's almost like they need to be like a master negotiator.
Yeah, totally.
Able to find common ground even when it seems
Yeah,
impossible.
exactly. Exactly.
Now, another soft skill that this guy brings up is the ability to represent the executive appropriately.
Oh, yeah, important one.
I'm picturing like good manners and knowing which fork to use
More than that.
more than that. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, almost embodying the executive's persona,
Wow. Sure.
understanding their communication style, their priorities, their values,
Yeah.
even like their sense of humor.
Okay.
It's being able to anticipate their needs, react accordingly, make them look good in any situation.
That's that's a lot.
Yeah.
How do you even figure that out in a 30-minute interview?
Pay close attention to how they talk about their past experiences working with execs.
Okay.
Do they seem to get the nuances of the role?
Okay.
Can they give you concrete examples?
Right.
Times they adjusted their approach based on the executive's personality or the situation?
Okay. Okay. I'm following you.
For example, a candidate might say, "My last executive preferred super concise communication, so I learned to summarize key points really quickly and predict what information they needed to make decisions."
Oh, wow. So they're really attuned to those little things.
Exactly.
And they can adapt. That's really interesting.
Exactly.
Okay. It's starting to feel like this is kind of like matchmaking.
It is, yeah.
It's not just about skills. It's about personality, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, but the workable guide goes even further than that, right?
They do.
There are these hidden gems that we need to uncover.
Uncover those hidden gems, yeah.
Okay, so what are those?
Well, it's not just ticking off boxes on a job description.
Right.
It's those little qualities
Okay.
that really make an EA exceptional.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
And one of the most interesting ones is initiative.
Oh, initiative. Okay.
They even suggest asking the candidate
Okay.
about a time they went above and beyond.
Okay, now see, I've had people think that going above and beyond means...
Reorganizing your desk.
Yes, or buying me
Yeah.
something random I don't need.
Right, exactly. So how do you know it's genuine?
Yeah. How do you tell the difference between real initiative and, like, misplaced helpfulness?
It all boils down to understanding the executive's goals. Right.
Uh-oh.
What are their priorities?
Yeah.
A truly great EA will take initiative in a way that directly supports those goals, even if it means going outside their normal responsibilities.
Interesting.
So for instance, a candidate might say, I realized my last executive was having trouble keeping up with industry trends, so I started putting together this weekly newsletter with relevant articles and summaries.
Oh, wow.
Right, so they're not just doing tasks.
They're thinking ahead.
They're actively looking for ways to make the executive's life easier.
I love that. Okay, so they're like a mind reader and a strategic planner.
All in one.
All in one. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the guide also mentions something that I think gets overlooked a lot.
What's that?
The EA's ability to manage up.
Yes, managing up, it's an art form.
It is.
It really is. It's the ability to communicate with, influence,
Yeah.
and sometimes even gently guide your superiors.
Okay.
A great EA can provide feedback,
Oh, interesting.
offer a different perspective,
Yeah.
even push back when it's needed,
Oh, wow.
but always respectfully,
Right.
and keep that positive, supportive relationship.
That's a delicate balance.
It is.
So how do you know if someone can actually manage up?
Let's say you ask them about a time they disagreed with their previous executive's approach.
Okay.
A candidate who's good at managing up might say something like, "I noticed a scheduling conflict that would made my exec miss a really important deadline. So instead of just pointing it out, I came up with some different options, explained the impact of each one. That way, my exec could make an informed choice without feeling pressured."
That's smart. They're not afraid to speak up,
Right.
but they do it carefully.
Exactly. Strategically.
Okay, so what if you find someone who has all these amazing qualities,
Yeah.
but they just don't click with you,
Right.
like personally?
You're right. All those skills wouldn't matter if the chemistry isn't there.
Exactly. It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't. And that brings us to another hidden gem.
Oh, there's more. Cultural fit. Cultural fit. Okay, so skills are important.
Essential, but
You need that connection too.
you need to find someone who complements your personality, gets your quirks, adapts to how you work.
It really is like matchmaking.
It is. It is.
So how do you even judge that in an interview?
It's subtle, but there are clues.
Okay.
Pay attention to their communication style.
Okay.
Do they seem comfortable with you?
Right.
Do they ask insightful questions?
Hmm.
The kinds that show they've done their research on you and the company.
Okay.
Do their values line up with the company culture?
You know, I always thought the interview process was about me finding the right EA.
Yeah.
But this is making me think, what if it's also about me being the right executive for them?
Interesting, yeah.
What if they're interviewing me too?
That's a great point, and I think a lot of executives miss that.
Really?
Yeah, the best candidates, they're not just looking for a job.
Right.
They want an environment where they can thrive.
I see. I see.
So what does that look like for you?
I guess it means being self-aware, right?
Yeah.
about my leadership style, my strengths, my weaknesses.
Right. And the kind of work culture you create.
Being open to feedback, investing in their development,
Exactly.
creating a clear path for them to move up.
It's a two-way street, you know?
It is.
You're not just hiring someone, you're partnering with them.
I like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of partnership, the guide had a really interesting point about the questions that a candidate should be asking you.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a perspective we often forget about.
Yeah, I'm usually the one asking the questions.
Exactly. So what are you prepared to answer?
What does it tell you about them if they ask about my leadership style?
Right. Or the company culture. I mean, those are great questions for a candidate to be asking you.
Right.
It shows they're not just looking for any job.
Yeah.
They want the right fit, you know?
Right.
They understand that the relationship between an executive and their assistant, it's a close one.
It is.
And they want to make sure that your styles, your personalities mesh well.
Okay, so if someone's asking me about how I like to communicate or how I handle feedback, I shouldn't be, like, put off by that.
No, not at all.
It means they're thinking ahead. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
They're trying to picture what it would be like to actually work with you every day.
That's true. That's true.
And their questions can give you valuable insight, too,
Oh, interesting.
into their working style.
Okay.
So, like, if they ask about your preferred way to communicate, are they trying to figure out if you're all about those quick emails?
Right.
Or if you love a detailed memo?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're someone who really needs that face-to-face.
Interesting.
You know, it says a lot about how well you'd worked together.
A hidden personality test?
It kind of is, for both of you.
For both of us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what about questions about the company culture?
Uh-huh.
Like, what if they ask about work-life balance?
Sure.
Or professional development opportunities?
Those are all really good signs.
Okay.
It shows they're thinking long-term, you know?
Yeah.
They're not just there for a paycheck.
Right.
They're looking for a career path. They want to learn and grow and move up in the company.
It's almost like they're interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing them.
It absolutely is.
Wow.
And that's great.
Yeah.
It means they're serious about this.
Right.
That they want it to be a win-win for both of you.
So someone who asks those thoughtful questions
Mm-hmm.
is probably going to be a really great employee.
Right. They're likely to be engaged, motivated, really invested in their work.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It had.
We went way beyond just typical interview tips
We did.
and really got into the nitty-gritty of finding the perfect EA.
Yeah. It's not just about checking off skills on a resume.
Right.
It's about finding that person who can really be your partner in success.
We've talked about going beyond the resume, beyond the basic questions.
Exactly.
Like we learned how to assess those subtle qualities, like discretion and diplomacy,
Right.
being proactive, thinking on your feet.
Important stuff.
And we even talked about that idea of cultural fit
Yes.
and asking the right questions, not just as the interviewer, but as the employer too.
Absolutely. And, you know, we really challenged our listeners to think about how they can be the best executive for their EA.
Yes, because it is a two-way street.
It is. It is.
So as we wrap up, here's a final thought for everyone.
Okay.
Imagine you found that perfect EA. They anticipate your needs. They help you achieve your goals.
The beautiful thing.
What does that success look like for you?
Mm.
How does it impact not just your work, but your life overall?
Food for thought.
This is The Deep Dive, signing off.